Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's story has been written by Reddit user Onolo Saint Trina. Alright, now let's dive into today's story. Hey mom, where did you say you met Camila again? From the top of the small flight of stairs that led down into our apartment's living room, I listened to my mother's heavy breathing over the phone and waited, saying nothing else. The silence that followed my question was a tactical ceasefire. A measure designed to break Maggie as efficiently as possible. The woman was deathly allergic to silence, especially when anger was the emotion filling the empty space that speech typically occupied. I could practically hear her throat closing. Not to say it was an effortless strategy on my end, my first impulse was to unleash nuclear wrath on my mother. Not keep my mouth shut. I would have loved nothing more than to give in to that impulse, split the proverbial atom in my head, and point the resulting uncontrollable tempest of confusion and rage at Maggie, Fallout be damned. But I knew anger would cause her to withdraw. This was my best chance at extracting information, so I held my tongue for Camilla's sake. While I waited, shifting movement in the periphery caught my eye. My wife's partially inflated face had turned to look at me, her nose rising and falling like a buoy at top, a stormy ocean current. The air mattress motor did not function as well as I had hoped. It seemed to lack the required power to fully inflate her body. With her eyes fixed on me, the dizzying aroma of brine and mold slid into my nostrils. I battled simmering nausea, which was partially from the smell, but primarily from the circumstances. Despite my efforts, Camilla was changing. I had hoped the incomplete expansion would postpone these changes, but it did not seem to prevent her transformation. Or maybe the air from the motor was the only thing stopping her from transforming completely weary. From the quiet Maggie spoke up. It took a minute or two to work, but my gambit was a success. More to the point, she did not attempt to lie her way out of this. I did, however, become lost in thought while I bided my time, forgetting she was still on the line altogether. What happened to Camilla? Are you safe? Her voice emerging unexpectedly from the silence like a monstrous claw from the fathomless depths of a pitch-black closet was startling. The surprise weakened the hold I had on my emotions, allowing a tiny morsel of my total anger to break free from its tenuous detainment. A white-hot spark acting as an ambassador for the full-blooming inferno I was fighting to control. I don't even know where to start, Maggie. Jesus, I'm going to let you figure that out. What the is going on? I yelled, reining in the fury before it gained enough momentum to consume me. I closed my eyes and released a deep, cathartic exhale, having almost lost control. I reminded myself why I was so devastated in the first place. With my eyes shut, I allowed a collage of wedding memories to come flooding into my mind's eye. I heard the canaries chirping, felt the warmth Camilla radiated when she spoke her vows, and smelled the sweet nectaria scent of honeysuckles floating on the breeze. The exercise was grounding, and as my eyelids slowly reopened, my priorities became clear. I loved her, and she was still Camilla, whoever and whatever. That was she's damaged mom. My wife was currently laying lifelessly on our largest couch in the living room, positioned against the wall. Farthest from the stairs, her toes were pointed upward, and she held her arms at her sides as if rehearsing for her own wake. I had affixed the motor from the airbed to her injured wrist, layers of scotch tape wrapping around the nozzle to decrease the amount of air leakage. The makeshift augmentation was a start, but it was imperfect. The mechanical draft opened Camilla's body. Yes, but it didn't fully pressurize her. Instead, the air rippled through her waves of expansion and de-expansion, washing over the surface of my wife like a tarp, flapping in a strong wind. I described this all to Maggie, and when I was done, she did not need to pause before launching into her follow-up questions, a subtle undertow of fear, now colored her speech. However is she acting? Normally, does she look like herself? Broad strokes. I mean, does she look like Camilla? Her skin, her shape? And you didn't answer me. Are you safe? I need to know you're safe. Jack Maggie's line of questioning left me feeling uneasy as she alluded to details about my wife, that I hadn't yet disclosed to her 24 hours had passed since that knife pierced Camilla's wrist, and her body had remained in a constant state of flux, ever since patches of her skin had transitioned from their normal peach color to an iridescent gleaming silver at certain angles. Her flesh refracted against my eyes, and I saw a shimmering rainbow, like she had evolved into a human-sized pearl after spending many years trapped inside a titanic oyster. Unfortunately, it wasn't just her skin that was changing. Some of her most recognizable features had become horrifically abstracted. Camilla's right eye was now elongated upwards, forming a blue-white oval that started at her hairline and ended at her nose, with her other eye remaining unchanged. The fingers on both of her hands had fused, now appearing like sleek, crystalline oven mitts. Her legs had lengthened, with her feet now hanging over the side of the couch as of the last few hours. If she stood up completely straight, I estimated she would be at least 9 feet tall when she first deflated. Camilla became a latex suit crafted in her image, a rubbery doppelganger given time. However, she was developing into something else entirely, as if to signal that those changes were becoming progressively more unstable. Her port had taken on a bright and foreboding red glow through the haze of my worry and sleep deprivation. I offered my wife a weak smile. She reciprocated, but the right corner of her mouth made contact with her lower eyelid, as she did, causing an intense chill to radiate from the top of my head downwards, as her smile widened further. Part of her eye disappeared behind the corner of her mouth, overridden by the creases of her grin. It was all becoming too much numbly. I turned away from Camilla and whispered something to Maggie, hoping the question would be inaudible to my wife under the loud vibrations of the motor. "I'm safe." "Okay, but Mom, what is she?" "A replica. A machine." What I did not have to wait long for her response. She started speaking before I even made it up the small set of stairs that led to the front door. Unnervingly, Maggie struggled to define Camilla's exact nature. Camilla is not a replica or a machine. It's not artificial or synthetic, not man-made, though it has been modified by new technology, but we didn't create it. No one created Camilla. We're not sure how old she is. My eyes dilated, and I almost dropped the phone. My hands now slick with sweat. A friend of your grandmother's approached me at Angie's funeral. They offered Camilla as a replacement to help you recover, a mutually beneficial arrangement. Someone that could be constructed specifically for you in the aftermath of everything. Something that didn't die. Maggie hesitated, probably to let the information sink in. Angie was my long-term partner before Camilla died 4 years ago. From kidney failure, never wanted to get married because she knew she was running on borrowed time. Her death had shattered me for a long while. My grandmother's death, on the other hand, was an unambiguous blessing for me, and for the world at large. The woman was a notoriously sadistic mining baroness, a magician tyrant, well-versed in the arcane sorcery of transforming human suffering into AE, and then ultimately ore into hideous wealth. When she died 3 months ago, Maggie had inherited everything with that inheritance. She single-handedly funded our wedding, a fact I've felt apprehensive about since, after a pause, she continued. But it's on loan. It belongs to them. They own it. And the technology they put into it. They said the loan would continue if unable to finish her sentence. Maggie felt quiet, her words dissolving amidst some combination of fear, shame, and cowardice. Although it was nearly impossible, I said nothing in response, waiting for silence to pull the completed confession out of Maggie. Eventually.